Okay. So thank you so much for coming to our session. My name is Yumiko Asayama, Chief Manager of Japan Water Forum and coordinating Asia Pacific Water Forum, and APWF coordinating Asia Pacific Focus Session of Stockholm Water Week 2025. This session, entitled Water Energy Food Ecosystem Nexus in Asia, Harmonizing Hydropower and Nature-Based Solution. Welcome to this session. And when we discuss nexus in Asia, where we explore the complexity interplay between hydropower development and nature-based solution across the region, water, energy, food security challenges are intensifying under climate change, with increasing flood, drought, and ecological pressure. While hydropower remains a key source of renewable energy, mostly in Asia-Pacific, irrigation and water management, poorly planned projects can harm ecosystem, disrupt community, and undermine long-term sustainability. Hence, this session highlights how interplay between hydropower and NBS can create a pathway to resilient, equitable, and environmentally sustainable growth. Through practical experience, innovative tools, and governance approach shared by experts from across Asia in this session, we will explore strategy to manage WEFE nexus trade-off, protect biodiversity, and strengthen the resilience of vulnerability community. You participants will gain insights on moving from sector-specific intervention to integrated river basin and regional-level approach that secure Asia's long-term water, food, energy, and ecosystem future. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Rachel McDonald, Deputy Director General of UMI, to deliver opening remarks for this session. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for a fantastic opening from the Asia Water Forum. So, thank you for joining this session. It's a very, very busy Stockholm Water Week, and we really appreciate you coming to this. And it's a critical question. How are we going to manage hydropower with preserving our ecosystems? So what we do know is that Asia is a home to both the fastest growing hydropower capacity and some of the world's most biodiverse river basins. Asia stands at a critical crossroads. How is it going to meet its energy needs while still preserving those ecosystems and dealing with the strains from climate extremes, rapid development, and competing demands? We've seen those floods that come through and challenge our dams and damage our hydropower capabilities. We see there were some of those areas that are there. So hydropower is a key renewable resource. And when we're under pressure for climate mitigation, we know this is a fantastic source of energy, and it's 15% of the energy mix for Asia. So at its best, hydropower can deliver a range of benefits, not only clean energy, but it can support irrigation and regulate flows. So take out those floods and make sure there's water there during those droughts. But poorly planned projects can fragment rivers. It can harm biodiversity. It can disrupt critical fisheries and block sediment flows and displace communities and undermine the resilience to floods and droughts. Nature-based solutions, from environmental flows to floodplain restoration to agroforestry and watershed management, can mitigate some of these adverse impacts, restore ecosystems. So the challenge isn't about choosing between hydropower and nature. It's about how can we bring these together. Imagine the wins, the win-win-wins we could have if we could do this. So to be able to look at this, we have to step outside of our water silo and our food silo and our energy silo and our environment silo and bring those 3 to 4 elements together under the nexus. So we can see that those climate extremes from Himalayan glacial melt to Mekong Delta floods make this interdependence even sharper as we're trying to do that. So the International Water Management Institute is delighted to be a partner in that, and it's something we have been working on for quite some time, led by Dr. Mohsen Hafiz. So it's at the forefront of advancing integrated water solutions in Asia and globally. And one of the things I would like us to take from this session, as we discuss ideas and as we look at how we can go forward, imagine how we could share that knowledge through South-South cooperation. We see developments in Africa are equally pressured on hydropower and maintaining river-based solutions. So this session is about reimagining hydropower not just as an energy source, but as a pillar of resilience across water, food and ecosystems. The stakes are high. The decisions we make in the next decade will determine whether Asia's rivers remain healthy and productive or become increasingly degraded and congested. So let's share some bold ideas in this session. Let's challenge assumptions and help shape solutions that connect sectors rather than divide them. I wish you all the best in this session. I'm going to really enjoy these conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much for delivering very, very valuable opening remarks and those including the introduction with the situation in Asia. And next, we will have a presentation from 5 speakers. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Mohsen Hafiz, Strategic Program Director, Water Food Ecosystem of UMI. Yes. Mohsen, floor is for yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Yumko. I will be talking about from the nexus to action. What WEFE nexus has been used since 2011, but what are the tools that we have developed for that one, how that could be implemented on the ground. And when we are talking about the WEFE nexus, we are talking about the water security, as well as looking around the food security, energy security, and as well as making sure that it's not impacting on the ecosystem. And the end beneficiaries are also the people. It's looking around all those aspects on that one. And of course, the climate change is one of the cross-cutting on that one, and how these things we are working it as a part of that one. So nexus approach is providing improving the system efficiency, and also to know that one, how that could be feeding to the people, how we could have a better alignment of the different activities, different actors on the ground and everything. And the CGIR is working on the WEFE initiative. It was started in 2022 to 2024, where we were working in the 5 river basin. We were working in Indus Basin in Pakistan, Ganges Basin in India and Nepal, also in Aral Sea in Central Asia, and the Blue Nile Basin in Ethiopia and Sudan. And then the other is we were working it also on in Komati Basin in South Africa and Zimbabwe. But this work has been shifted toward the new one. It's a WEFE Water, Energy, Food, Environment Nexus policy under the Policy Innovation Program, and we are still doing it. And today I'm focusing it on the example of the Indus and the Ganges Basin, what's happening in that one particularly. Here we are applying the basin approach, where we are quantifying and accounting of all the water system, energy, food, and ecosystem or resources. Then also looking around the upstream, downstream interconnection, and ultimately looking around what are the synergies, trade-off, and then the beneficiaries across those basins and everything, and using the systematic approach. Here just giving the first thing, this session is talking about that one, basically the hydropower, and as well as water sources and nature-based solutions. So my example first is about that one, the water energy planning model for the Indus Basin. As you know that Indus Basin is facing a lot of challenge. There are only 30 days of storage, but that's also a major source of the hydropower generation. So what we are looking at, we have developed a water allocation model that's optimizing all the water sources for in the Indus Basin, so that when we need to release the water and what's the optimal optimization of the water allocation, and how to irrigate to the different farm scale level and everything. But at the same time, there is a huge potential for hydropower generation, and hydropower generation so we are working with the government and looking around hydropower energy optimization along with the water, when is the more energy, and is there the right way of optimizing the water and energy. And there are a lot of studies that are indicating there is much more need of improvement in hydropower energy optimization, and that's what we are looking at and working with the government. So the government will use it as a decision-making tool for future power generation and as well as also on that one. At the same time, there are around 10 new dams will be built in Pakistan, and we are also looking around those one and giving different scenarios. What will happen if one dam will come and how much is the hydropower generation will be there, and what will be the impact on water availability for the downstream and everything on the storages. So that's a very important thing. This work, we are working in a PIWR, which is the model which we have developed with the University of Manchester. Professor Julian Harrow is leading on that particularly model development, and we are applying in the context of Indus Basin in Pakistan. We are also applying in the Chichik River Basin in Central Asia and in Kumati Basin in part of the South Africa. Let me go to the other example, which we are looking at on managed aquifer recharge. When we are talking about the managed aquifer recharge, is one of the is a part of the nature-based solution, one way of that managing it. So we are looking around the groundwater depletion, and as well as also considering that when the less water availability and on the climate change and all that one. So here we are using, there are multiple ways where you could implement the nature-based solution, and here we are working on a single way of that one. Underground transfer of flood for irrigation, which is one of the methods which we call it WEFE. We are using it. And that method is about capturing the excessive surface flow and store it into the depleted aquifer using the robust and programming approaches that can be managed by communities. And we have been working with the communities in part of India in Ram-Ganga Basin, and we have piloted those ones at various sites in Ganga Basin, and then that directly helping and how that could be upscaled through the government investment and everything. Here, just sharing the example of that one, which we experienced in the Ganges Basin. We started the site selection in 2014, 2015, where we worked with the, it's basically official launch. Then 2016, we provided the awareness to the community. Then 2018, that was accepted. We provided training and everything. And 2018 onward, now that has been upscaled to different government investment. And right now, there are around more than 300 structures where that has been implemented through the various government interventions. And here you see on the map, which is showing it on the left-hand side is number. So you see it started from 2008 and to 2023. There are more than 300 structures and managed aquifer recharge sector has been built. And as well as that, you see the spatial distribution of that one, and below you're seeing on the managed aquifer recharge in terms of volume, how many million cubic meter of water has been basically enhanced. And overall, by introducing those structures, we got one very good thing is that when 8% recharge efficiency has been improved in the system, and that's actually contributing toward that one, the sustainability of water sources and improving the water security situation in that part. Lastly, we are working in a partnership with the ADPC, and where we have developed the operational guidelines of the WEFE nexus for South Asia. And those guidelines are that one because it's a good concept, but how that concept could be operationalized, what are the constraints on that one, what are the actionable things as part of one. So we need to look around actionable policies. Institutional alignment is also need to be there at the robust data system, because when we are talking about water system, that's lacking the data, and particularly in Asia, data is considered as a commodity. And IMI as the institute is working on a robust data system, what could we do as a part? Then as well as looking on stakeholder engagement. Whatever the solution to develop it, that solution will not be acceptable unless you go with the stakeholder, looking around the targeted capacity building, where we have developed particularly women champions in those parts of the world. 40 women leaders have been trained, and a classical example is in case of Nepal, where we have worked and developed a multi-stakeholder platform, picking up the women leaders from various ministries who are working it together. And lastly is about the regional cooperation is important for doing those things. Now, lastly, looking around that one, it's a good concept, but the important thing is that when we need to look at that one, how we could utilize that one for trade-off analysis, for developing the synergies. Let's say if we are talking about hydropower generation at the upstream, what will be the trade-off and the downstream on that one? And especially when the water is not available, how we could introduce a nature-based solution to improve that one, the water security for the region. And it's this operationalization needs basically navigating increased complexity, and that's where the political will is required and how we could work it together. Last is, IMI is working on a global commission on sustainability on water for food futures. this is basically QR code. This is telling about what's the way forward for future. What will be the future of water for food future in the next 15, 20 years. Please scan that code and then complete the survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohsin, for very, very comprehensive presentation. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Senaka Basnayake, Program Lead, Climate Service, ASEAN Disaster Preparedness Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugo. Very good morning. Today we are discussing about Asia's future WEFE, in particular harmonizing NBS and hydropower. Asian Disaster Preparedness Center, we don't have much, direct work related to work to this one, but what I am going to do actually to present you a case study from Southeast Asia, in particular Thailand, where we are introducing sort of NBS to improve resilience of a particular area, so which is which includes floods as well. So it's an urban resilience project. I will talk to you. So basically the topic is nature-based solutions for flood risk management, as well as sediment control, which has a very much link to the hydropower generation. So if you see this map, so this is from Mekong region, upper region as well as lower Mekong. You can see that the red ones, already the dams are operating much to the north. And there are two dams, the red color to the south, which are managed by Lao PDR. There are the kind of maybe a little bit brown color. So that one, these are the plants ones, so again from Lao PDR. And the blue ones actually is already suspended, in particular two in Cambodia. You can see there are sort of many dams are coming up. This is, by the way, I have taken from International River, June 2024. So there are a couple of dams are coming up. So it's important for this discussion today as well. So how that is NBS can sort of improve the health of the ecosystems, in particular upstream. So that will support sediment control, in particular the way that we understand. So that's very much supportive to the hydropower dam operations. So I am putting here the circle. So that circle is within Thailand. So that's the area where we are having some project to improve urban resilience in particular city. And then it's just next to one of the rivers, tributaries, Kok River, that goes to the Mekong River. So about the project, this is funded by IKI German government, and IUCN is the lead, and with a couple of partners. ADPC is also partner, and RECOF, then Thailand Environment Institute, UDCT of Chulalongkorn University, and this basically to improve urban resilience, as I was mentioning, for a couple of hazards. So you can see it has a couple of work packages. So first one is risk assessment, which is ADPC is implementing that component. That leads to proper solutions and BS for different hazards that IUCN is taking the lead. So that is another component, policy and advocacy. That's also important. Whenever we introduce solutions, we need to make sure that the governance in that particular city or metropolitan area will support that initiative. The last one is the capacity building and scaling up and replication. So these are the 4 packages, and we all working together. And the next slide, you can see the integration, how it is happening. So the main component here in NBS solutions to improve resilience. So supported by the risk assessment, of course, the policy, as well as overall, maybe cross-cutting issues, the capacity building. So this slide shows you the areas that we are targeting in Thailand, 2 cities. One is Chiang Rai, which I showed you a while ago, to the north. You can see a couple of hazards, floods in particular, drought, landslide. There are other hazards, of course. These are the major ones that the city is facing. The another city is Surat Thani to the south. It's a coastal city. So floods, drought, and sea level. That I am not going to target for that one because of this presentation. The session is targeting the hydropower operations, so on and so forth. So this again, the Chiang Rai city area. You can see the bigger map, and then if you zoom it, you can see here the Chiang Rai here. So this is the Kok River, it goes to Mekong. So we are improving resilience in this particular area. So that's the project. And then, as I was mentioning, flood is one of the major hazards in that particular area. So we are it relates to the hydropower as well as landslide because it also produces so much of soil erosion through soil erosion, sediments. So the ADPC is responsible for work package 1. So we are conducting very detailed risk assessment in that particular area. Very detailed in the sense we are collecting exposure data and vulnerable data through the surveys, and then hazard information we are providing, we are getting from the modeling approach. And when doing modeling, so we are also looking at future, meaning that hazard information we are feeding from future scenarios and downscaling into the area, and then developing or running a hydrological model or hydraulic model to get the levels of flood levels. And then, of course, towards the end, of course, it supports disaster risk management. So the preliminary study shows that area that we are targeting in Chiang Rai. So the color codes are the quite heavy, high to medium flood risks are there. And then, so this project, as I was keep mentioning, so it's not directly related to the hydropower, but the way that the discussions are happening now, if you improve the upstream, the health ecosystem, so by putting nature-based solutions. When it comes to urban resilience, you might be wondering, we are doing only, or we are making some adjustments or solutions to only the urban wetlands. No, it's not the case in this particular project. We are also doing working on peripheral areas to improve agriculture practices as well as reforestation as well. We are providing recommendations for the local authority to take measures. So in that way, we feel that if we improve the upstream, the catchment area, that will definitely support the flood risk management, land risk management, even drought risk management, and of course it can also be linked to the hydropower dam operation as well. As I've shown you that there will be a couple of dams are coming up nearby to this Kok River, along the Kok River, not along the Kok River, that main tributary, that's the Mekong River. So better understanding of climate disasters and selected river basins objective of this study, and nature-based solutions for urban watershed restoration to minimize not only flood, it is mentioned here flood, but also the landslide, and restoration, as I was mentioning, in the area, and that will also support dam operation. So mainstreaming the NBS into hydropower planning also. This output of this project might be also be input for that. So improve water regulation and reduce sedimentation. That's also very much linked to the discussion today. And strengthening biodiversity corridors around hydropower catchment. So this is about the project and objectives. We started last year. It's going on, and it goes till 2028. So much work needs to be done. So we hope that now the project will also be contributing to this particular session as well. Thank you.
Senaka, thank you so much for bringing the case from Southeast Asia. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Chen Kian, Senior Manager of Global Infrastructure Basel Foundation. So, Chen.
Yes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege for me to present this work we did at the Global Infrastructure Basel Foundation. Actually, very similar to Senaka, as this project is not necessarily particularly related to hydropower or the nexus, but it serves similar purposes. So I'd be very happy to introduce you to that. So first, Global Infrastructure Basel Foundation, we are a Swiss non-for-profit. We basically work on different aspects of infrastructure. So here also water-related infrastructure, and we work to mainstream nature-based solutions in infrastructure development, planning, operation, and the whole life cycle. So our infrastructure nature pillar primarily work on three aspects. The first one is catalyzing investments into nature-based solutions. The second one is originating actually NBS projects, and the third part is to provide technical assistance. I will show you how we exactly do that. So today I'd like to introduce you to this methodology that we co-developed with the European Investment Banks, WWF, Nature Conservancy, MAVA Foundation, and a number of other partners. So in simple language, it's a step-by-step guidance to originate bankable NBS solutions. And so it's a rather neutral methodology framework, and this is why we would like to introduce you here. Although we only piloted the study in some European countries, but we hope that the experience that we gathered could also inform the development in Asia and Pacific. So this is how the methodology frameworks look like. You can even consider it as an annotated table of contents, like what should be included in these studies. So it started with setting the ambition, what you actually want to achieve here, addressing what kind of climate risks, and then you move to the science part. So basically the geographical area, the topography, and then the hydrology, and also different characteristics of the landscape. And if it's addressing flood, then what's the flood risk here? It also includes the flood damage modeling part. So that's on the actual technical part. So moving to the policy part, it then includes the regulatory framework, the policy framework, the governance, and also different roles and responsibilities for the authority for managing flood risk. And also different stakeholders mapping on who we need to engage and consult on these nature-based solutions. And after that, you might already find many gaps, either data gaps or policy gaps in these processes. It could also already inform the next steps. And moving to step number 4 is actually selecting what kind of NBS it would work better in this situation. So it includes the cost-benefit analysis of different options, and to inform and prioritize the NBS that you would like to choose. And last but not least, almost the most important part, or one of the most important part, is the financing, because globally, there is the NBS rely heavily on public budget, and public budget is a very scarce resource. So we would like to see if there are opportunities for co-financing, attracting private capitals. So in particular, here we also include a component on insurance. So this is one of the unique part that GIB is particularly specialized in, is that we work with insurance company to see if there are particular insurance products can help de-risk such projects and attract more funding. So that's just a very theoretical framework of how it would look like. So the end result is basically a pre-feasibility study, right? It's hundreds of pages, and then it already can give you a very good idea of how and what you can move forward. So here is a case study that we did in Greece. So I personally did not work on this case study, so I hope there's no Greek people here, because my pronunciation of these places will be terrible. So it's in the Thessaly region of Greece. So what we did is basically following the methodology. We did, for example, the flood risk modeling, and then we tested different viabilities of these solutions. We did stakeholder consultation, including regional governments, including the local commercial banks, including the insurance companies, to make sure that there is stakeholder buy-in in this process. And in terms of, in particular, insurance companies, we looked at different insurance products products that could de-risk the investments, and to through different modeling processes to also to decide the pricing will be more in an affordable place from the outset. So that's just a very brief introduction. So we did another case in Cyprus, so you can find all the pre-feasibility studies online. Why is it relevant for Asia and Pacific? I think I already mentioned a bit earlier that the methodology itself is neutral. It can be adapted to every geographical region. So it includes public sector stakeholders engagement and engaging local partners, engaging private partners, setting the vision for everyone, and also includes different assessment on different types of NBS options, although at the moment this is particularly designed for flood management and flood risk control, but you can just replace a keyword with other types of risks you want to address, because it's really just a framework. And lastly, it's about the assessment of different financing mechanisms, different financing instruments, to make sure that it will not solely, well, at least to hope to help that it does not rely solely on public budget and public financing. So with that, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
GRB's activity, and we would like to be back to you more for enabling environment to reflect, apply your cases in the case of Asia Pacific. Next, we will move on to the online speakers, and I would like to invite Dr. Oliver Krastu, Senior Program Officer of IUCN Asia. Oliver, floor is for yours, but thank you for connecting online speaker from Oliver, IUCN.
Thank you for hosting us. Just making sure you're sharing the slide from your end, because I cannot see the screen now. So across Asia, hydropower has become a cornerstone of our renewable energy transitions. It lights our homes, as we've seen, powers our industries, and advances the carbonization goals. But it also comes with a profound challenge. Dams and reservoirs, they disrupt river systems, they fragment habitats, they threaten freshwater biodiversity, one of the most endangered realms on our planet. And sometimes we have to recognize that they also displace populations. And traditional protected areas, while essential to conservation, often fail to safeguard these dynamic freshwater ecosystems. So this is where other effective area-based conservation measures, or OECMs, provide a breakthrough. Unlike protected areas, OECMs recognize conservation outcomes in landscapes whose primary function may be quite different, whether cultural, industrial, or even infrastructural, so long as clear, tangible, and measurable biodiversity benefits are secured and can be demonstrated. So let me maybe bring this to life with a world example from Lao PDR. In Boli Kamshai province, the Namchuan Namshang biodiversity offset was established alongside the Nam Yep 1 hydropower project. This is a 290 megawatt facility, not very big, but not small at all. It covers more than 79,000 hectares of intact forest and river valleys. And this offset is managed under a 30-year plan extending to 2046, so very long term. Although this is not a legally designated protected area, Namchuan Namshang is governed with conservation in mind. For example, it provides critical habitat for species like the endangered white-cheeked gibbon. It regulates sediment flows that benefit dam operations, of course, but also sustains local livelihoods through managed forest use. And very much more importantly, it is institutionally resourced and overseen by the hydropower company in that case, in collaboration with government and NGO partners. So this example makes it not just a compensatory measure, but a potential business-led OECM. So what does this story tell us? First, that hydropower landscapes can deliver long-term biodiversity outcomes, not only just short-term or limited mitigation. Secondly, when governance is inclusive and funding commitments are secured, those sites, such as that one in Lao PDR, can align more clearly with the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework's Target 3, helping countries achieve the 30 by 30 goal for terrestrial, freshwater, and in some cases, marine protection. And thirdly, OECMs can create a shared value, conserving ecosystems, providing ecosystem services, and building social resilience for development. In my point of view, the lesson from Lao PDR is clear. OECMs can offer a practical, credible bridge between energy development and biodiversity conservation, but we must ensure safeguards at all costs. Freshwater-specific criteria, such as, for example, maintaining flows, protecting migratory fish routes, and ensuring water quality, must be embedded into OECM frameworks. We must also be careful and guard against blue washing, ensuring that only sites with genuine, verifiable biodiversity outcomes are recognized. And furthermore, hydropower projects that impact negatively rights holders and go against IUCN's guidance on identifying and recognizing OECMs can certainly not qualify as OECMs. When we look forward, countries like Bhutan, China, India, and others in Southeast Asia already have hydropower-linked catchments, community forest and watershed management zones that could be recognized as OECMs fairly easily. If scaled responsibly, this model could really reshape how we think about infrastructure, not as the end of nature, but as a partner in nature-positive development. So we could say that the Namshuan-Namshang offset shows us that hydropower and biodiversity do not have to be opposing forces. With imagination, good governance, and accountability, OECMs can transform trade-offs into synergies and power Asia's future while safeguarding the rivers and forests that sustain us all, and especially the local communities and indigenous peoples. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Oliver, and we will be back to you and with your colleague later. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Ai Sugiura, Natural Science Program Officer of UNESCO Beijing. Ai-san, can you hear us? We can see your slide on screen, but we cannot hear your voice.
You cannot hear me?
No, yes, now we can hear your voice. So thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. So, well, the slide will come up. So thank you very much to give also UNESCO this opportunity to reflect on this nexus and on the water, energy, food ecosystem and hydropower. As you may know, UNESCO mandate is unique in water and ecosystem. So we have different programs working on those. Through the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program, which is now celebrating its 50th anniversary, through the Man and the Biosphere Program, where we have 759 biosphere reserves through 136 member states, and through our International Geoscience and Geopark Program, where we have one pillar on geohydrology and then all sciences. And then the 229 UNESCO Global Geopark in 50 member states. So we connect then science with governance and with communities. And our programs are then neutral platforms then for our member states to address then these interdependencies between water, energy, food, and ecosystem. In particular for hydropower, we even have one Category 2 center, the International Research and Training Center on Erosion and Sedimentation, hosted in China, also providing training, research, and then solutions, sustainable solutions for dam and reservoirs building, maintenance, and so on. So within the IHP perspective, so we have explicitly a program called eco-hydrology, which captures then the nexus linkages. So between then, for example, managing riparian zones, reforestation catchments, for then the reservoir maintenance, the siltation things, and then improve as well water regulation, enhancing as well food support with fisheries, irrigation potential solutions, and so on. So we have in particular one demonstration site in the upper catchment of the Citarum River Basin in Indonesia, where the Cibitung catchment, which end into the Saguling Reservoir, so which is providing as well some phytotech solutions into then sediment control, but also like other pollutant control. Then we have within our MAB program, the biosphere reserves, and actually all the UNESCO designated sites are tools for land planning. And so the biosphere reserve act as well as a living laboratories for the nexus. And they demonstrate how the catchment scale nature-based solution can simultaneously sustain agriculture, maintain water quality and flows, and then provide as well solutions for resilience, preserve, of course, eco systems and biodiversity, and then risk also manage risk to then some reservoirs and hydropower installations. So they exemplify that we can manage then those synergies and trade-offs in an integrated landscape. So it's quite similar to OECM concept as well. And then within the perspective of the geoparks, so they also highlight then geodiversity and hydrology and how they shape human development. And a lot of research is done also within this program on the lessons we can learn from sediment transport and the landscape processes, which are then critical for the maintenance and the sustainability of hydropower. Then since 2021, we have a recommendation on open science. So all this knowledge is openly, should be openly shared and through following two principles, the fair and the care principle. So being findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable, but also contributing to collective benefit, authority to control, responsibility, and ethics, especially on data from indigenous and traditional knowledge. So contributing then all this into open hydrology with yes, not just the distribution of knowledge, but also co-creation of knowledge with all the citizen science aspect and so on that we can then also build on to provide more solutions, innovative solutions. And then everything needs to be, of course, inclusive. So we are also looking at all the local and indigenous knowledge that actually can have a lot of innovative solutions to manage then the nexus trade-off and in particular within then hydropower projects. And then we need to highlight all this within then regional cooperation for then the nexus governance. So into then all the aspects from water supply, food production, ecosystems, and then energy production as well. So that's how we see that the hydropower with then this vision through eco-hydrology, nature-based solution, open science can be actually through guided governance and regional cooperation, a driver to ecological restoration, community resilience, and sustainable development across the nexus. Thank you.
So, Ai-san, thank you so much for your presentation. And we will now move on to the panel discussion. And on-site moderator is Professor Taikan Oki. He is professor of the University of Tokyo, and also he is also 2024 Stockholm World Week laureate. He is also our no, Japan Water Forum's vice president. So now then he is also supporting WEFE activity from now. And also we would like to invite online moderator from Raymond from GDP Southeast Asia, from Indonesia. Yes, great. And we would like to encourage all speakers on site be on stage, and online speaker is on screen. Thank you. Professor Oki, please.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, Yumiko. So yes, panelists, please come on to the stage. Oh, we have a not good gender balance here. Okay, so okay, maybe that the start from that okay, motion. Yes. Well, maybe that I will tell my impression about this session that I have been feeling guilty when we think about that reservoir construction and hydropower generation. But the presenters has been talking that, okay, there could be a solution to compromise or that eradicate that trade-off between that the ecosystem conservation and energy production. So I'm still a little bit skeptical about that, but still. So, and are there any potential trade-offs among that water, energy, and food environment for managed aquifer research? The motion, yes.
Thank you. That's a very important question. I think, yes, there are ways. Okay, let's look around that one, the example of when we are talking about the whole South Asia. There is a monsoon season that's having plenty of water. And the remaining period of time, there is not enough water available. I mean, I'm talking about the rainfall and everything. And then that's also leading toward the dams and everything. So one of the way of that one, which I demonstrated in my presentation, is when you have a surplus surface water, you are able to build small local managed aquifer recharge, even that in India, that irrigation department have built a larger managed aquifer recharge potentially. Depend on the particular site where you store the water, and whenever you need water, during the time when there is not enough rainfall, you could pump it back, and there are the ways around. And ultimately also balancing, that's the one thing. But also when we are looking around agriculture system, the crop production needs a certain amount of water at particular time. By delaying of 1 week or the 10 days will have a major impact on the food security for the country. And also that's where that the system is working in a way, let's say in 2022, when there was a heat wave in South Asia, and if the areas, the farmers at the downstream, they are not able to get the water during that time, that has impacted on the crop production and ultimately impacted on the food security for various regions and everything. By doing that one, the water, when they manage aquifer recharge, you inject it and then pump back the water for those improving the farmer resilience, because they have another way of doing that one. And that's also impacting on improving the livelihood of people and everything. And of course, one other thing which you talked about initially, your comment on hydropower and the construction and everything, from a hydrologist or from the water sources engineer perspective, what we are looking at, we need to, different areas in any river basin need water. And then the water is primarily used in Asia, 90% on agriculture. And there is a transfer time from water from one area to the other area. Typically the dams are built in the north and then the other is going down. There are the hydrology from that one. You need to release the water in certain time so that water will reach to the end. And at the same time, you need to make some time compromising on the same the hydropower generation. You cannot, you need to release more water downstream and also having a compromising on hydropower or the other way around. And there are the ways. And again, what we are looking at ME within the WEFE nexus, in part of Chechak River Basin and also in part of Pakistan and Indus Basin, what are the new infrastructure hydropower are being built? They are built some in 2027, some in 28, some at 29, 30, 35. What will be the impact of that one on the overall water allocation, looking around surface water and as well as on the groundwater and agriculture system? I will stop here.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the idea of that the managed aquifer research is make that the aquifer as a reservoir,
Yes.
right? But unlike the surface reservoirs, that we cannot control that how that groundwater, research groundwater goes, or that the unless you make that the underground wall.
No, there are the, if you're talking about the confined aquifer,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
In a confined aquifer, you inject how much that one, you could control it, okay? But in the unconfined aquifer, what you're saying, that's right. So therefore, it's an important, when I was working in Australia, we were looking at, so we need to look at hydrogeological layer and see what's possible. That's one way. Other way is that one, you could have the sand dams, where you're artificially creating the kind of infrastructure and injecting the water there, but you need to make sure wherever you're doing the managed aquifer recharge, it's just a control. Either nature, you go on a confined aquifer, because unconfined aquifer, if you add it, it will go to saline aquifer, or the way the water, and then again the purpose fundamentally is gone. So that's where we need to look around the hydrogeological layer, on the long term, what the water is needed on that one and how to utilize that one.
Okay, so that the idea is could be simple, but the implementation can be, there are many technical issues you have to.
Yep, there are around 7, 8 models. It depends on hydrogeological layers, soil types, and everything. And we have been applying in Asia and Africa to different models based on the need of the area and the hydrogeological formation.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so for Seneca, that how can regional platforms like the Mekong River Commission or others foster cross-sectoral water, energy, food, environment, governance, and data sharing for hydropower planning?
Thank you. I think it's a good example from Southeast Asia. So Mekong River Commission is there. So there are, of course, other river basins in the region from Asia. So I think I can concentrate, I can respond to what MRC has been doing so far. Nature-based solution itself, which we have been discussing so far, it's also kind of like, it also attracts cross-sectoral or cross-border cooperation. As I was mentioning in my presentation, like, if you sort of implement or improve ecosystem health at the upper catchment, that will help the flood risk management downstream. So that's easy way. Of course, there are other ways now which we have been discussing so far. Like, for an example, dam can also be can be used to manage the floods. But it's like political. There are some sort of like political issues may arise. So it's NBS is a good solution to attract or to have cross-sectoral or cross-border collaboration. That's first thing. And the other one is like maybe. We need to also think about data sharing, data and knowledge. That's also important. And let me bring our experience. ADPC is a Disaster Preparedness Center, which is an intergovernmental organization. We have been closely working with MRC, Mekong River Commission. So what we have been doing so far, we are providing data and information. In particular, we have a drought tool we call Southeast Asia Drought Watch. So we are running this model at ADPC in Bangkok. So we are providing every 15 days forecast information to Mekong River Commission. So what they do, actually, they extract information from that, the forecast information, then they develop their own kind of like, drought indices. They are providing combined drought indices because we are providing all the parameters. That will, go to the countries through their national Mekong commissions. So that's the link that we were able to make. Of course, MRC is responsible for providing drought bulletins or whatever the information to their own countries, 5 Mekong countries. So we are helping them. So it's a kind of like, we are supporting them to improve their data and understanding and knowledge. That will go to countries. So, and then of course that verification feedback is also there. So this second thing that I feel like, maybe better to highlight in order to build the cross-collaborative cooperation, I mean. The other one, of course, we can think of capacity build training and capacity building. So again, a good example, whenever we are having trainings, in particular drought tool, we bring all the, the low Mekong countries to a single table, and that will also be like, lead into sort of like, cross-collaborative. And then regional and global partnerships, like this type of events, countries can participate along with the regional organization, like MRC, others, and that will also help them to like, when they go back, to sort of improve their sort of cross-sectoral collaboration in that sense. I stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yes, for that kind of the drought prediction and sharing the information is fine. But for example, along the Mekong, there are still the many hydropower plannings, right? But the Mekong River Commission has no power to force that the neighboring nations or related nations to think about nature-based solution when they plan that new hydropower dams. But do you have any idea that all these planning may be associated with a nature-based solution, like introduced this session?
Yeah, I think you are very correct that maybe countries they are making decisions on their own plans, in particular dam, which is very politically sensitive, because the map that I showed also, you can see. I think regional organization like MRC, because I cannot really comment on that, but we feel that they may not be in much control, but they can facilitate the discussions.
Okay.
And then that's probably the way that they can think of, because they are very well connected with their respective ministries, as there have been national Mekong commissions in each and every country, mostly like Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources. So that way they can make some sort of influence through their ministries, the respective government, and to maybe the planning ministry or so. Again, maybe as I was mentioning, it's their decision. So at the same time, we can also promote this type of NBS solutions whenever they are having dams and other things, maybe upstreams, upper catchments, to have this type of solutions.
Yeah.
So it's a very tough question, though.
Sorry about I think that's the key point, that we have to promote more. When we think about more hydropower, we have to think as well that nature-based solutions, right? Yeah. Okay, in terms of that, for Chen, that you showed that the very theoretical, clean, very well sorted and steps when we consider the dam reservoir construction planning. But do we consider that the intangible values, like that the cost value of the ecosystems, or that the value of the stability of the food supply when we do that cost-benefit analysis?
That's a very good question. I also don't have a perfect solution for that. I think the benefits are clear on these nature-based solutions. I think it has been showcased by many other speakers. So it with the sedimentation control, it can reduce the maintenance cost of the hydropower, the turbines, because the water has less sedimentation. It also with the reforestation and then the riparian restoration, you could regulate the water, the reservoir better during extreme floods and extreme drought era. And also nature-based solutions always deliver multiple benefits, right? Besides the purpose it was designed for, there are also accompanying benefits like biodiversity, which is the most important one according to IUCN. Also the carbon sequestration benefits. So all of them will have to be captured and monetized, and that's very very difficult. And it's also a relatively nascent study. So it's not like the traditional infrastructure. You say, oh, okay, here this is a cost and these are the revenues. So how to calculate? There are also some tools. So one of our our not sister agency, but our partner agency, IISD, also based in Switzerland, Geneva, they have a tool called SAFI, which specifically used to do cost-benefit analysis for nature-based solutions. So at the end of the day, you could do some level of calculation to showcase why it does make sense, because often the case, all these nature-based solutions, they make perfect economic sense, right? Because it comes to who pays the cost. So they make perfect economic sense, but they may be not making financial sense. When you put it into a traditional financial model, it's because it doesn't really have a steady revenue, like toll roads or electricity bills. Like the revenue stream is not conventional. So how to make financial sense for these projects and make it actually bankable, attracting private capital is indeed a very one of the biggest barriers that is halting the progress, other than in convincing the government to invest and put their budget in there.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for a tough question, but listening to your answer, I feel like that maybe we can do that economic, aspect of the cost-benefit analysis, and also that the environmental or ecosystem aspect of the cost-benefit, and we can compare just compare this, and dialogue and conversation and communication and data sharing, and may give us some answer, right? Okay, thank you very much. For Oliver, are you listening? Okay, are there any example reservoir construction can be eco-friendly like that, as you introduced the case study that the reforestation and planting trees and the conservation of the areas and reduce the sediment transport to the reservoirs and make it more sustainable reservoir management. But do we expect another, I expect to listen a little bit more about that, any example that when we develop the new reservoirs, and also that can be an eco-friendly and water, energy, food, and ecosystem win-win-win-win situation. Oh, microphone is not on. Sorry.
Hello, we cannot hear you. Can you please switch on your mic?
Sorry.
We cannot hear anybody.
Seems like
no, we cannot hear you.
Hear each other.
Oh yeah, so it's actually, I'm sorry
that. Let me just shift.
Yeah. Now we can hear you. I'm very sorry that I should.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes, please. Oh, you're in the same room.
Am I audible?
Yeah. We are listening very clearly now. Thank you.
Yes, you are audible. If you could hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you now too.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just quickly say what I was saying, that my colleague, Dr. Olivia, already introduced the topic, and he mentioned an example and give you an example of Lao with there. But also I would like to draw your attention that many of our distinguished speakers have been mentioning nature-based solutions. And hydropower is not exactly a nature-based solution. We have to make a distinction when we use the term nature-based solution, because there has to be a distinction between nature-derived, nature-inspired, and in a true sense, nature-based solution. When we refer to hydropower, it's largely a nature-derived solution, which is using and harnessing the power of the nature to deliver that kind of a clean energy, alternative form of energy. And also talking about the conservation, some of our distinguished panelists before me and the speakers spoke about, we have to be really mindful while we promote and say that the hydropower is one of the best and the cleanest way of the energy and also conserving biodiversity. It has to be on a case-to-case basis, and we have to be mindful of two factors. One is how much ecologically it is really impacting downstream or upstream, and what are the social safeguards which have been taken into account. And also, when we talk about the stakeholders, let's not forget about the right holders, where down the stream it's a shared resource which is among many different stakeholders. We are sharing this resource, and how are they impacted? So, and just not merely producing the energy, and also sometimes when the production of the energy is done, how equitably it is done, looking at from where it is produced to where it is consumed. So I think so looking at, there is a wide spectrum of things in terms of ecological biodiversity along the watershed, and also the social safeguards, keeping the environmental factors in mind. It has to be looked at on a case to case basis. And I'm sorry to be being such an alarmist and sounding slightly in a different way, and not being very going forward and embracing it and saying it's the best solution, because the impact of the hydropower has shown us with different examples, from Bhutan to coming up to into the Southeast Asia in many regions, and going up to East Asia. It has shown different examples, and there are different varying examples which have impacted in a different way. So we have to be really mindful and have to have a very good plan, environmental mitigation plan at the parallel when we are working with the hydropower, and using the power of also now where the other effective area based conservation measures, which is OECMs, and aligning and linking to them, is we have to ensure that those social guards and the biological values for which those watersheds are really being recognized, and the biodiversity which exists have been taken into account. So that's from my side.
Thank you very much, Khalid. I'm sorry that I should ask you to give us a comment, but okay. So maybe before I open the question to the audience, I need to ask are you listening? Okay. So. Thank you very much explaining about that, the UNESCO's view about that, how to make that develop the sustainable hydropower solutions. But what is your strategy to make such an sustainable hydropower solution be a common sense all over the world? So, how do you disseminate the idea of the framework? We do not listening. We cannot hear you.
Okay. We can hear you.
On site, we cannot hear you.
Okay.
Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So how we did disseminate? So we have a few examples actually where designated sites have influenced then the operation of dams, because they were influencing then a new site or new nominated areas. So first on the designated site are like land planning tools, right? And so we have examples on the eco hydrology demonstration site in China or in Indonesia, or biosphere reserves as well, where then and even on transboundary sites as well, where then because they were at the end of or recipient or influenced by the operation of the dam operation were revised so that it can fulfill then the requirement of operation as of UNESCO designated sites, so biosphere reserve, eco hydrology demo sites, so UNESCO global geopark. So these are ideas then, so we share with all our, when we have our global meetings, so everything, all these good practices, we are documenting and sharing. Yes, so that's, and then we are also compiling then all these good practices and so on as, open sources within then our efforts of the Open Science Initiative. And then providing as well, when we can, then specific trainings with this in mind. So that would be, yes, so through then our network as a Category 2 centers, or through also our UNESCO chairs who have also, we have few looking at these very specific domains that can relate then to this, how to run, how to integrate then hydropower operations within then sustainable practices within then a given sites. And that's how then we disseminate as much as possible then the ideas or the good practices that we can find from then our sites and our member states.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, then let's open the question to the floor. Any question? Yes? And you're next. Okay. First that the... Oh, okay. Yes, you first. Yeah.
Hello, thank you very much. Been
Could
very.
you please make that floor a little bit brighter? Yes. Otherwise, we cannot see the face. Yeah.
Hi there. Yeah, my name's Alex Gerard. I'm executive director of a small NGO in Malawi, agricultural NGO. We're currently piloting a project in the Lolangwa River Basin. Using our deep bed farming method, which harvests over 90% of the rainfall that lands directly onto the farmland. And we're doing a program with SIWI. SIWI is our research partner, working with the Northern Region Water Board to trial a PSE model, so a payment for environmental services, nature-based solutions. They're all of a similar type. My question is, through the presentations today, I was trying to get an idea of how much the farming practice is being utilized to actively harvest rainwater, because in in Africa, smallholder farmers are by far the largest percentage of land managers on the continent. So if we're not actively managing the water directly on the fields and groundwater recharging, then that has huge implications. You can have projects nearby, reservoirs, other methods of rainwater harvesting. But I'm keen from your examples in Asia to better understand how actively that methodology is being passed on to the farming practices. Thank you.
Okay, so let me give the example that in the case of India, when we had it first demonstration of the nature-based solution, it was at a village level. In Rampur district, one of the villages which we have selected, in that village where we work it demonstrating the solution, then also getting awareness of the farmers who were locally available there, and then basically training them what are the needs at that one, and then training them, also then incorporating the irrigation department. So that was at one particular site which was developed for one of the village. And typically in a village, there is around 300 to 400 people or families, depend on the type of village and how big and small. And now that has been upscaled to the 300 managed aquifer recharge structures, I will say roughly to the whole Ramganga basin, which has around 7 or 8 administrative ones. And in addition to that one, the government has picked up for other districts and other ones. So coming back to your question, I think it depends on that one when the farmer needs water. Farmers in case of Asia, it's a bit different one. Farmers at the upper end, they will get a plenty of water from the canal water supply system. But farmers at the tail end, they don't have that kind of water availability whenever they need it. And they are using it typically more for pumping, but that's agriculture is one aspect, but also about the drinking purposes. The groundwater, they are using it, and also for other purposes, the domestic and other thing. I think there's, again, depending on the needs and everything, and these are the examples in case of Nepal, in Tarai Basin, also the example in the Indus Basin, and upper part of that one, giving the access, and it depends on the various people. What at IMI we are looking at, whatever the solution we are developing it, how we could be a bit more inclusive. Working in the case of India, we have actively working with the farmers, with the women, and I think in one of these project area, where we have more than 3,000 females have been trained. They're getting the ownership from them. And then they are the ones, because otherwise they were able to fetch the water from downstream 1 or 2 kilometers. Now having those kind of thing and developing a small community pond where they're able to get the water, all that kind of, it depends on the country to country in various needs. And we have also some different requirement, different things in Benin where we are working under the WEFE project and in part of the South Africa.
Thank you.
Thank you. And, okay, and this table.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the interesting presentations. My name is Lucia. I work at the Secretariat of the Water Convention at UNECE. And mine is more an invitation to distinguished speakers and also to the people in the room and online to engage with the Water Convention when it comes to nexus and transboundary contexts, because we have a task force. It's a body under the convention that discusses precisely this topic, which is a very complex one, and it's also one where a lot of different actors, different institutions are working very actively and putting, quite, frankly, also quite a lot of money also in terms of research, especially in the past. So there is quite a bit of knowledge there that can be shared. And at the end of the day, it should inform negotiations across countries and across sectors. And often the win-win-win-win does not exist. So it's a matter of then making it land into a framework of negotiations and concrete pragmatic solutions. So please engage with the Water Convention on that. We also have a methodology for nexus dialogues in transboundary basins. This has been, as far as I know, already used also by partners like ECMOD in Asia and also of course, by us and with partners like OECD in projects in Central Asia, in the Aral Sea, Sirdarya, and so on and so forth. So you can easily find us, let's say, also in Asia. And then one question is related to hydropower. Of course, this is a big topic of discussion, especially at transboundary level, and it's not always easy to even discuss this so explicitly. So my question to you, to all of the presenters, let's say, who wants to answer, is how, to what extent could you actually get to talk about hydropower development, yeah, how did it go? Thanks.
Any answer from the online participants? Or Chen Chen?
Well, I don't want to, like comment on things that I actually don't have expertise in. We don't work really on hydropower. Yeah, I'll pass this question.
Okay. Then, how about Seneca?
Yeah, the same story, because we don't really directly work with the hydropower. Yeah.
Machine?
So we can kind of like, mostly we are working on DRR and climate resilience. So nature-based solution is a part of DRR as well as climate resilience. So that angle we are looking at, not directly working with the hydropower agencies in countries.
The same thing is that we are working with that one, the water releases for the downstream, for the environmental purposes, for all these things, for agriculture purposes, for other one, and helping the government on water allocation planning in various countries. But then if you talk about the hydropower infrastructure development, that's not our area of expertise. But what we are looking at around that one, whatever the water is that one, how that could be shared equitably downstream, what are the environmental sector needs, what are the other sector needs, and how we could utilize that information for the wetland, for the environment. Plus, as well as we are also looking at around that one, that the water, how we could optimize the water, the energy generation from that, the hydropower. And sometimes we are also involved in the downstream on the strategic environmental assessment report or environmental impact, what's happening. But here we are not, we are not expert on the hydropower infrastructure development and what are the cause and pros. That's well noted. Thank you.
Maybe
Professor Tai
Maybe
Kanoki.
just complement what has been said, because other than this methodology that are presented at GIB, we run the Secretariat of Sustainability Standards for infrastructure, so all kinds of infrastructure, and we do have hydropower plants, like the infrastructure developers or the asset owners. They come to us and assess their projects against this international sustainability standard. And I think the bottom line is that these infrastructure projects, they will have to pass like the minimum, environmental, social standards. So the IFC performance standard, for example, and particularly on environmental impact assessment, there is this cumulative impact assessment that you have to conduct, because if you build one hydropower or like a mini hydropower somewhere, maybe the impact is fine on biodiversity and other water streams. But if you build 10, or if you build 20, then it's a very different story. And then with that, you will have to really very seriously conduct the cumulative impact assessment. So these are the requirements, at least we put under the infrastructure sustainability standard that we manage.
Okay, so make your question concise and name that whom do you want to ask. Okay.
Professor Tai Kanoki. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I'm Alexis Kwasi from ECOWAS. ECOWAS is the economic community for West African country. I'm the director of Water Management Center. I want just to know about the policy and the regulation in establishing the countries where you experiment these projects. What is the regulation? What is about the regulation regarding this kind of projects in this country, regarding Mekong countries and maybe other countries? And at the hand, what can be our take away for the African countries to experiment the same projects? Thank you.
The question yes?
Yeah, if I correctly understand, you're asking what sort of the mechanism that the country should take up for this type of projects.
The first one was regarding the regulation and policies established in these countries for the WEFE, for the water and food ecosystem nexus.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. I'm not from MRC, by the way, so which is ADPC, also regional organization. In particular, WEFE. So we do have some activities. We work with the IMI, for example. Maybe Dr. Moshin can respond to that after me. So we are getting into that subject area. So, but to answer the question, of course, it's a very much country-driven, country-specific thing. Of course, regional organization like MRC can sort of guide the countries to get into that, regulations and policies. It's not, at the end of the day, of course, it's the country policies. So you need to, within the country, you need to have that discussion among the relevant organizations, WEFE, nexus, and then come up. So ADPC or even IMI or even other organization can provide some sort of guidance up to a certain extent. Maybe MRC type organizations, which is regional organization in Mekong countries, they can further influence it, as I was keep mentioning, through their national commissions. So it's a country-driven thing, but maybe the other international organization can provide some inputs. Thanks.
Yeah, let me add on that one. Currently, I'm taking the example of Volta Basin, where we have been working very actively. The water and food system is fragmented. There are so many societal pressure, population pressure, climate change, and all that one. Water is typically the energy generated in the Volta Basin downstream, and that's used for upstream. And now that has changed the impact on that one, population growth, more water use on upstream. That's where they already have a sharing arrangement and everything. So what we are looking at around typically each of the ministry is looking in a silo, water ministry looking only water, food ministry looking on that one, and WEFE nexus is a kind of the framework which is guiding you how we could bring the systematic changes, how we could look at system, where the water and food system along with the environment, so that when we are achieving the water security, it should not be at the cost of food security, It should not be cast at the energy security, and how to optimize that one for healthy ecosystem. And that's where whatever the regulations are there, water sharing arrangement, we are working as a part of the how to optimize those resources and how to provide a framework, but that need to be implemented by the state agencies through their already existing mechanism. And we have recently developed the the nexus guidelines for the case of Asia, and we are working with the African Development Bank how we could optimize their funding framework for WEFE nexus for the better optimization of resources.
Okay. Raymond, are you listening? I'm sorry that we are. I'm moderating that on side, but I'll take that final question from the floor, and after that, would you please give us the summary or the integrated comments of this session afterwards? Okay.
Good.
Okay. So yes, please.
So thank you very much. It's really a comment. So Matthew McCartney, I'm from the International Water Management Institute. I think what we've been discussing today, I think what you were a bit skeptical earlier. I think that's correct. You can't build hydropower dams or dams without some sort of environmental impact. So to me, the starting point has to be basin planning and thinking about, okay, at the basin level, where are the best places to put dams? Maybe we have to sacrifice some rivers with dams, but then leave other rivers to be natural free-flowing, which goes back to the OECM idea, I think, and planning like that. So I think that's one thing to think about. I also think that we should make hydropower practitioners own the impacts that they have. And of course, those impacts are both upstream and downstream. One idea that people talk about is thinking about often we just think about the reservoir as being simply a body of water, but it's actually a novel ecosystem. It's a human-made ecosystem, and you can manage that ecosystem to provide food through fisheries, to provide ecosystem services, etc. And that means managing not just the water and how you manage water levels, but also managing upstream as well. The catchment and putting in interventions that can help with ensuring that fish move up and downstream, etc., and ensuring that flows are correct into the reservoir at certain times of year, and all that sort of stuff. Sediment flows are reduced and so on. And then you can have environmental flows managing downstream, again, for ecosystem services, for floodplain agriculture, floodplain grazing, downstream fisheries, etc. But it needs to be done in an integrated way. And of course, the ultimate thing is to think about whether or not you really need the hydropower station and what are the alternatives for energy production. And in this day and age, of course, solar and wind, the cost of those is coming down immensely. It's often now more financially viable to do that sort of intervention than it is to build hydropower. But the one thing that hydropower has, of course, which IHA was always arguing, is that they have the storage. And it's not just storage of water, it's storage of energy, so that they can switch them on and off and provide that balancing effect that you need for the other types of. So we're still going to need some hydropower. But I think it's that more WFE, that the approach should be giving you that larger scale planning to think about it in the whole context of all these other things that we also need: the food, the environment, the water, etc. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, Raymond, sorry to make you waiting. So floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Taikanoki. I really enjoyed this conversation. All the speakers has provided us excellent thoughts and also responses that I would like to appreciate. I know time is limited, so allow me to apologize to Olivier Cassot, who had put his hand up. We have to go first with some simple or notes that I've taken along the discussion. First, that we see that water, energy, food, and environment nexus has served and will serve as a vital framework for addressing the interconnected challenges associated with water, energy, food, and environmental security. We can see from the discussion that this water, energy, food, and environment nexus are interconnecting pillars that underpin sustainable development, specifically from our speakers in the Asian context. Yes, Asia is facing a lot of escalating challenges from climate change, and the speakers had addressed that carefully, and also from resource scarcity and transboundary pressures, which has not yet discussed enough. But as we can see in most part of the world, specifically in Asia, there's a continuous advance towards ambitious renewable energy targets. Asia, like part of Africa, is increasing its energy consumption, but that doesn't mean that there's a change in the kind of energy that they are using. So it's not moving to renewable, it's just consuming more fossil fuel. So freshwater ecosystems in this context are increasingly caught in the friction between the infrastructure development and ecological conservation. Previously, hydropower have often been called as a cornerstone of clean energy. But Dr. Syed had explained that, well, it also disrupts a lot of delicate interplay of the aquatic biodiversity, seasonal flow, and communication. Indeed, nature-based solution put us in a lot of thoughts how to work forward from silos to systems. We are thinking how nature-based solution can create resilience, even though it's not a conventional resource or revenue stream when we are investing in financial terms. And hydropower is also particularly not an easy approach when we are dealing with interventions in a sense of infrastructure. So therefore, designing hydropower related to ecosystem restoration is an issue that has been raised well, and thank you for the speakers. Tools and innovations are necessary, specifically decision support systems and digital innovations, but we cannot forget that scaling and financing nature-based solution will remain a question to all of us. And that is how we can take this discussion home. Inclusion and equity, for sure, and transboundary and regional cooperation will remain in the background. So briefly, I've been educated in terms of natural-based solution. I found useful and good entry points for action that has been provided by our speakers, Dr. Mohsin Hales, Senaka Basnayake, Chen Chen, also Dr. Said, and Gira, and Dr. Jasso. So with this takeaway, I would like to give back the time to Professor Taikan Oki with the hope that natural-based solution will be an integrating factor in how we calculate and how we invest in the future. Hopefully, there are better energy provided through a combined approach, not only by clean energy, but also taking account the transfer that happens at the level where we are using the technology. Thank you, Dr. Taikan.
Thank you, Raymond. That's a very good point. It may not be that nature-based solution, but it can be a combined solution of that conserving nature and a little bit renewable energy from the nature. So thank you very much for your participation to this session, and please give the big hands to the panelists and presenters. Thank you very much.